it streaming now?
Yeah, that's good, right?
Oh yeah, I see myself. I never like, it's just weird. Oh yeah, I can hear, so that's me talking. All right, the audio's working. Yeah, yeah. The host. Oh yeah, just the final thing that needs to be done is someone that's co-host or host just needs to do end meeting for all, and then that'll show it.
Or this is actually the first time. So, gonna be probably here,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So over there still the board members.
Yeah.
I'll ask Hog when he comes in.
Okay.
where he wants.
So I brought handouts because, Dr. asked,
Okay.
how does this work? I heard that bring handouts. That piece, but make sure you have. I brought everything. I'm like, if I need to set up, I don't want to.
No,
have
let me
to
see.
promote.
Where the. And you're probably gonna be presenting to here,
Okay,
that's probably most likely.
and then the second topic is the. I got here early. I'm like, I don't know what it. Yep. Thank you. Opening folders. They were like, giving me, like, I'm particular about, give me my pretty folders. I was like, okay, Alfonso, tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. Probably should have come to one of these meetings before this happened to me that I have to present, right?
Or light on that.
I'm like,
Fair enough. Oh, fantastic, that's right, now I remember.
Yeah, now
I
you
forgot.
remember.
That was moving on, but I remember now. Oh, that's all. Pleasure you too, huh? Yeah, glad you too.
Okay.
If I can add that. No. Good to see you. It's a pleasure to meet you. We're working with you, buddy. You're over here. Ben said he's on his way.
So the highlighted,
I'll explain that. Or you were the last chair, so.
Madam Clerk, please start the meeting.
Yes, Chair Lopez, go ahead.
Thank you. I hereby call the Joint School Collaboration Subcommittee meeting to order. Clerk, will you please do the roll call on our behalf?
Yes, thank you. Committee Member Alvarez? I'm calling roll.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Bustos?
Present.
Committee Member Vasquez? Vice Chair Hernandez?
Present.
Chair Lopez?
Here.
Records show you have 4 members present. That is a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So now we're gonna move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Committee Member Alvarez, would you like to lead the pledge? Thank you.
You can stand, please rise. Flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
So much. Okay, we are now going to move on to the public comment portion of the agenda. This is the time for the time of the meeting for a subcommittee to receive comments from the public. I don't see anyone in the chamber for the record. We will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already, please give your form to the recording secretary. Clerk, would you like to explain further procedures on public comment?
If there were members present, I would definitely explain them for them. But there are no members present of the public in the audience here in the council chamber, nor are there any members on Zoom wishing to speak.
Excellent. All right, there are no public comments for tonight. We will move on to the consent calendar, items 1 through 3. Subcommittee members, are there any items that you wish to pull from the consent calendar? I am not hearing anything from anyone.
Yes, I would like to pull item 3 just as a matter of discussion.
Okay, got it. Subcommittee member Bustos or Alvarez?
None from me. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So we'll pull item 3. Is there a motion on the floor for the rest of the consent items?
I'll make a motion to move the rest of the consent items.
Second.
Got it. Clerk, would you like to do the roll call?
Yes, thank you. Committee member Alvarez,
Yes.
committee member Bustos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Lopez.
Yes.
Vote is 4 ayes, no nays. Consent calendar items 1 and 2 are approved.
Got it. Thank you, City Clerk, Madam Clerk. Subcommittee member Hernandez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to pull this item as a topic of discussion. If we can get a review from staff on what the upcoming city council subcommittee meeting schedule is going to look like. You can tell us a little bit about it.
Sure, absolutely. So you guys all have a copy of the meeting. So like I said, we meet the first Monday of every month. However, this year we have 2 Mondays that fall on holidays. April 1st, Cesar Chavez Day or April Fools, and September 2nd, Labor Day. So usually on those, we move them to the next Monday if the chamber is available, which it is. However, on April, there was one on the next one, so we moved it to the 15th. That would be the next Monday that would be available. And other than that, every other Monday was available.
Understood.
Perfect.
So like I
Thank you.
said, that's what's the highlighted 2 are the ones would be the special meetings as they wouldn't follow the regular.
Okay, that clarifies my
Right.
next question. I appreciate that, sir. Do any of the committee members have any issues with the calendar? Are you guys okay with this? If so, I'll make a motion to move the item.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a sub motion to approve the meeting scheduled, however, strike November the 4th from the regular meeting calendar.
Okay,
Oh.
I don't know if there's any.
Yeah.
feedback.
I'll take my original motion back and I'll second your motion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
would you like meeting to be scheduled just to strike it off the calendar?
Any feedback from the subcommittee members?
I think striking it off the calendar is fair. It allows for staff to have that gap in between an election and get back to regular business December 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with it?
I'd be okay with that.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
That was a motion by Chair Lopez, seconded by committee member Hernandez to approve the 2024 meeting schedule as amended to remove the meeting on November 4th. Committee member Alvarez,
Yes.
committee member Bustos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Lopez,
Yes,
motion carries unanimously.
thank you. Okay, that is the end of the consent calendar items, and now we will move on to the business calendar. We're starting off with item 4, which is election of a chairperson and a vice chairperson. I will open up the floor for nominations. And for the record, I would like there to be a new chair. So I will nominate Subcommittee Member Bustos.
I will second that nomination.
You accept?
Yes, I accept.
Got it. Do you want us to do them together or separately?
It's at your discretion.
Okay. I guess we can go ahead
No,
and do the roll call
roll-
for the chair now.
Sure, no problem. So this is a nomination for committee member Bustos to serve as the chairperson of the subcommittee, made by Chair Lopez and seconded by committee member Hernandez. Committee member Alvarez,
Yes.
committee member Bustos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Lopez.
Yes.
Vote is 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Committee
Thank you.
member Bustos is now the chairperson.
Got it. Would you like me to formally hand this over to committee member Bustos?
That's between the two of you to go ahead and decide, but yes.
Okay, he wants me to finish. Okay, are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'm happy to stay vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, understood.
Self-nomination by committee member Vice Chair Hernandez to remain as vice chair, seconded by Chair Bustos. Committee member Alvarez,
Yes.
committee member Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Bustos.
Yes.
Vote is 4 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. And congratulations to the new chair, committee member Bustos, and congratulations, vice chair. Yes. Okay, so now we will move now we will move on to agenda item number 5 under the business calendar. The topic is community schools, and it is a discussion item. So the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chairperson Lopez and members of the subcommittee. My name is Lorraine Perez, and I'm the Deputy Superintendent with Santa Ana Unified School District. I'm here to share a little bit of information regarding our Community Schools Initiative. You do have the documents in front of you, so I'll briefly go over kind of a high-level view of what we're doing with community schools in Santa Ana Unified School District, and leave time and space for us to answer any questions that you all may have.
Got it.
So when you turn to slide 2, you see our graduate profile. So I'll share a little bit about our graduate profile and then talk to you about the context with which community schools connects. So in our district, we have gone through a process of identifying a graduate profile, and this is essentially the what all students will demonstrate as a member and a graduate of our school district. And so you see there, we have 6 characteristics, and that outer circle that identifies the personalized, authentic, competency-based, and equitable learning is how we will go about students accomplishing those inner 6 competencies, characteristics that you see there. And the piece around community schools is a way that we will help our students demonstrate and reach the graduate profile, which is the North Star for us in our school district. Our approach with community schools is really focused on early learning. So we're starting at the foundation, building that relationship and partnership with our parents and with the community so that we may be able to, together as a community, realize that graduate profile for the students in Santa Ana Unified and future citizens of the city of Santa Ana. So community schools plays a very critical role in us accomplishing that. If you go to the next slide, slide 3, we're focused on building that strong foundation, and you see the graduate profile there to your left, and then you see what we're really looking at. We have a focus, like I said, on early childhood, that partnership with the family, and really developing skills alongside our parents to lead that work, because we know that our students are with us for a period of time, but they're members of the community and belong to their families first and foremost. And so partnering, having our parents come alongside us is really important to us as a district. And so that is where our energies are being spent. If you flip to the next slide, we do see this as an equity strategy. We really focus on the fact that oftentimes in communities, we don't see the assets that our families bring. And this is something that we're very intentionally focusing on in Santa Ana Unified and honoring the fact that our community and our families bring a lot to the table with regards to our student learning. And so community schools is a way in which we can honor that and really have our families and community come alongside us. So this for us is about equity and really building those relationships with and around the community. And so that the information is not just shared, but it's co-constructed. It's one thing to give information to families, but it's another thing to have them be part of creating that information and co-constructing those things so that we're truly partners. So that is what we are focused on. You see that, and we call out specifically that we are honoring our local identity. I know that it's very important to our community that being from Santa Ana is a big deal and it means a lot to our families. And so we want to make sure that we're always honoring that and having that at the forefront of what we're doing. And so then just a couple of common features that you'll see across the schools that are community schools. And I will pause here to say that we have 4 schools that are already community school. They were our cohort 1. And then we have 8 schools that have come on recently. I mentioned that we have had a real intentional focus on early childhood. In our second cohort, we do have an intermediate school because we don't want to like leave out and forget about the matriculation that our students and families have. So Lathrop is our first intermediate school to serve as a community school. And so
Lori, before you go on, can
Sure.
you name the rest of the schools in
Yes.
cohort 1?
cohort
the
1,
public
yeah,
knows.
don't want to forget anybody. So we have Garfield, Monte Vista, Pio Pico, and Washington. Those are our cohort 1.
Thank you.
And then do you want me to name cohort 2?
Yes, please.
Sure. Adams, Carver, Davis, Diamond, Edison, Heroes, Lathrop, and Madison. And we are underway currently with applying for cohort 3. So we're very actively working on that grant application. And I'll describe a little bit more what that entails and what we can expect to come out of a school as they're going into the application. And then once they're granted the application, the grant, then what that looks like on their
Okay.
campus.
Yeah.
Mhm. So you see some of the common features that are identified when you look at a community school. These are some of the things that are a staple. They're not, you won't have variance. We approach this from the stance that this is a strategy. It's not a program. You oftentimes find in schools like lots of programs, and depending on funding, things, go away if there isn't funding for it. This really is what something we're trying to really deeply get wrapped into our DNA. So it does not go away, that we have sustainability, that we're really being mindful about how to sustain and maintain the approach with community schools. With the grant, we do have a full-time community school coordinator at each of those schools that are part of cohort 1 and cohort 2. The way that came about was really through a co-constructed process. So they had to actually bring folks together to identify like, this is the route that we want to go. And have that community school coordinator. At different phases and stages, the schools are in this deep needs assessment. Cohort 1, we actually got started and hit the ground running, and we had to do a little bit of a revisit to make sure that we were involving the right folks. Cohort 2, because we had systems and structures a lot better lined out and in place, we were able to do that on the front end. So were you going to add?
No.
Okay,
no.
okay. And so the other staple of all of our community schools is that we have the stakeholder teams that are providing input along the way. So this isn't happening just with school staff. It's not happening just with certificated staff or just with classified staff. It's involving everybody who's part of the school community and our students. They're the receivers of these efforts. And so we're involving them and having their voice be heard as well. So some of those are the things that you can find as common features for any of our schools that are community schools. And I want to stop there to like really highlight that the reason why we call out those common features is because then each and every school should be looking a little different based on what the needs are of their immediate community. people might think like all elementary schools need the same thing or all schools in our city need the same thing. That is absolutely not true. As we do needs assessments, we figure out that some school sites might have a greater need for, and I'm just going to speak resources right now, maybe food banks or more information and resources around housing. And then academically, their needs will look different. So that is where the commonalities, we can ensure them, but then we do expect things to look different, just based on, what we find the needs to be. And then the last slide that you see there is that implementation process. So it kind of walks you through what happens once we learn and share about the community schools evidence-based services and practices. That's how we start schools. We don't want to do things to people. We want to involve them. So as a school thinks about becoming a community school, there's a lot of grounding information. So everybody's operating off, similar information so that informed decisions can be made. And that information sharing happens with staff as well as with the families in the community, as well as business partners and other partners that will wrap supports around that school. And then you could kind of see there, we go through that shared vision and marketing campaign so people know what it is that particular school will look like as it shapes up into a community school. And this really is about a process of improvement. And so if you look at that kind of little roadmap, you'll see that as we identify our vision and we're gathering information, reporting back out to the community, we're on this continuous improvement cycle. And that really is what community schools is about, both academically and as well as the social emotional supports, and any other supports that a school site might need, whether it's, more healthcare information or getting, I know some of our schools are having dental mobile labs come out, just really depending on what the school needs.
Good, thank you. The floor is now open for discussion for the subcommittee members. If you have any questions about the presentation or community schools in general, please direct them to Lorraine. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you. Hello, Lorraine.
Hi.
Thank you for today's presentation. My question is, I heard 3 different cohorts, but there's a couple schools in my district I didn't hear. Is Fremont Elementary included, or is there plans for it to be included in a different cohort?
So Fremont is not yet. And so the group, there was actually several schools, I think 12 that applied for this next round. We won't know that probably until August as to whether or not they're granted or not. Our goal is that we're building infrastructure so that all of our schools can come on and be a community school. There's multiple layers of this. So right now there are grant dollars that the state is providing. We're trying to take advantage of that. At the same time, we want to build that infrastructure so that whether those grant dollars are there or not, we're still able to sustain this. So that's our focus. I'm going to say whether or not Fremont gets, part of the grant funded community schools, we will still be working towards building community schools at all of our schools so that it's like I said, part of the DNA. We
Yeah.
really want our schools to belong to their community.
Wonderful. I just have a recommendation that I would like to see. I would like to see our school districts work closer with the city of Santa Ana, for instance, in a location like you mentioned, let's say, for instance, Fremont Elementary is a good example. We have city amenities that are very close by, like community centers, we have pools, we have park space. And I think that there's great opportunities for our students to be able to use those facilities at no cost. I think that they should have access to the park space, whether it's during school hours or after school hours. So given that there's a community school initiative, I think that the city, it would be in our best interest to align with the community's needs, since you guys are continuously assessing them. I would like to see us in our city manager's office find a way to have a cohesive and more in-depth relationship as it pertains to the community schools, rollout. Do we have a timeline as to when these initiatives will begin to start, servicing families in our community?
Yes, so the cohort one is already in motion. So we have resources out with those 4 schools, and cohort 2 is also, but at different timelines. So I'll specifically like Lathrop, they've already done a couple of the mobile dental labs. So schools in cohort 2 are at different places within the implementation, but cohort 1, they have done their needs assessments and are really at that implementation place with community schools. But, and I will say, because it's an iterative process, as we bring resources in and meet needs, we're evaluating, okay, is this actually getting us where we want to be? So just because the school's already moving, it doesn't mean there might not be adjustments based on emerging needs or things that, we're realizing as we're implementing.
Thank you, Lorraine. My last question, it pertains to Wilson Elementary, which is in the Washington Square neighborhood. Is Wilson included in any of these 3 cohorts as well?
I want to double check, but I don't, yeah, no, not at this point.
Okay, I was just double checking because I didn't hear Wilson, but I just wanted to be safe. I think that this is fantastic. I'm really happy that there's an evidence-based approach to community schools, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of our families benefit from it. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Of course.
I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments. The whole premise behind the community schools concept is that the schools are the center of the community. So the whole premise of this is that we're building partnerships with community organizations. We're building partnerships and bringing those services onto the schools. So the whole premise is that students and parents don't have to go out of the neighborhood to get the services. We provide everything there. And it's really exciting because we're transforming schools. We're thinking differently about schools. And not only that, it's a unique opportunity to partner more with the city. This is our opportunity. As we're going through developing the community schools, we have to meet the needs of the particular school. And I think that that's why it's important to continue having these conversations, to see how the city, can we locate city services on our campuses? Or just as you mentioned, can we share resources and things like that? So I think that, it was important for us to bring up the community schools concept so that it could start the dialogue. But in the next presentation, we're going to be talking about our priorities. And it's important that you know what our priorities are, because that's where we're going to be spending our money. And the thing is, as you look at our priorities, you're going to see that there's a lot of commonalities. We're all working towards the same things. We all have the same goals. So moving forward, let's work together.
Understood. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for this. I appreciate it. I love the idea of community schools, and I'm a teacher at Valley. I think we applied for cohort 3, and just to be clear, the schools apply individually?
Yes, the schools apply individually, but we do provide that support. We have a grant writer that works with each school and their team to support, that effort. But yes, each school has to go through that process. Again, we don't want to do anything to people. We want them to be
Right.
part of. And so, yes, it is a
It's-
school by school.
It's part of the buy-in to do it. And I would rely on ethics studies pedagogy, which includes that. It's a big deal to have the buy-in and understanding. And I know it's about identity of self, of family, of community, and be able to teach that to the classes and the parents. So we have the concept of a Santanero, and this is where we are, and this is, we had a pueblo, my pueblo's Mezquital del Oro, Zacatecas, back home, but this is my pueblo now. This is my family's, where we're raised. When we say de qué pueblo it is, I'm like Santana. Here's where we're from. So hopefully that comes through in all this work. And if you look at the agenda, I added a bunch of things to having dual use parks, and Martin Elementary to be a park, a city park. making sure that we have all the city resources should be available at the fingertip and be trained to all our face and to all our schools, so we have them there from the work center to rent to housing, whatever we can do, all the information should be at the fingertips of our families and our parents in the school district. We do a lot of great things in the city, and I thank our staff every day for the work that they do. They're amazing. And also, like, how do we incorporate VAPA? Like, every event the city has, the kids should see themselves there. They should be there, and the parents should, like, this is our event. We're coming with our kids, holding hands. And look at this, my son performing. Like, every event, no doubt, should be a school presentation. And that's on the agenda today. And thank you for coming out and presenting this. I'm excited. I hope Valley gets accepted where I work, and we could do some of that shared leadership at our school.
You. Any comment on this side?
I just had a final comment. A suggestion, Lorraine, and some direction for our city manager is I would like to see city provide a list of CDBG grant recipients, city-funded programs that we have within the city. Examples are like Orange County Therapeutic Arts Center. We have Oasis Center, a lot of different arts organization that we do fund that I could see providing program at no additional cost to families within the school spaces. There's also, martial arts programs, music. There's a graffiti arts program that we just started in the city as well. We have a beat making program. We have a lot of great amenities within the library. So I would like to see our city manager's office find a way forward for us to, share these resources in these community schools, since these residents live in these neighborhoods. We're serving the same constituents. And I think that is a good pathway forward for us to begin this partnership. Is let's start with the city funded, partners that we do have, and maybe we can come back in a year and see what the service, looks like and where we can make improvements. Thank you.
Subcommittee member.
Yeah, I have a few comments. First, I want to thank Vice Chair Hernandez for your comments around collaboration and really working on community schools. As Subcommittee member Alvarez shared, this isn't something that the school district can take on by itself, right? It really is. We really are looking at our community partners. We really are looking at our community to be able to get this off the ground and get it moving and implement it so that our students and our families benefit from this strategy that is community schools. And I had very similar questions and concerns around the rollout of community schools and how quickly we were moving compared to other school districts across California. So Dr. Perez, can you just share a little bit about the background or just the reasoning behind our timeline and the ways that we're moving and our intentionality with the rollout of community schools, and maybe how our timeline compares to other school districts across the state, and just sharing a little bit of the differences between us and other districts.
Sure. So yes, there are, districts across actually the nation really on the move with community schools. But I will tell you, we were very intentional and we spent a lot of time wrapping our heads and our approach around what you'll hear about next, which is our board priorities and making sure that things line up. We really believe that alignment is critical to actually acceleration. So I'm going to say that we are going slow to go fast. There are some folks who might have been out on the forefront, you're hearing about it, last year and the year before. But we were intentional about going slow to go fast because we want to make sure that the systems are built. Oftentimes we get grant dollars and people get excited about that and you can do things for a short period of time. But what happens when the grant dollars are not there anymore? We feel like it's kind of selling our community a false hope that we're going to do this and we're not able to continue it. So because grant dollars dry up. So we're really saying, let's slow down. Let's make sure we're building things that we can actually sustain. Is the seed money with the grant beneficial? Without a doubt. But we want to be able to see this sustain and become part of the way we do things and what's expected by our community. So it's part of the reason why we started with early childhood, because as we build those expectations with our parents at that early stage, and they're experiencing our school district partnering with them as they matriculate through the system, that becomes what they expect, and that's what they should expect. So we're really, being mindful that we're building things that we can sustain, and that also we have to be mindful that we're changing a mindset. Not everybody in the system automatically thinks that we should be, or just might not know how to co-construct things with the community. You imagine that, you've been an educator for all these years, and you go and you do things, you run a school or you run your classroom. Not for everybody, but for some, it might take some adjusting and thinking about things differently, and really helping folks see what I mentioned at first, is that assets that our families bring great wealth, great knowledge in their partnership with us. And so we want to, make sure that we're doing those things together, and that forges relationships, between the teachers, the principal, all the staff and the families, because they're doing this together. So we might not be going as fast, but I do believe that we will be sustainable and have a long-lasting impact in our community.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I bring that up just because I know that there might be families who might be saying, well, why isn't my school outside a community school? But again, we really want to ensure that our systems really are in place, and that we are creating community schools that really work, right? That aren't just a title, but are really connecting our communities to the resources that they need. And this isn't to say, right, that if your school isn't already a community school, that you don't have access to these resources. We are more than happy to provide and refer our students and our families to the appropriate resources. It's just a matter of just connecting with your school site staff, your school admin, reaching out to the superintendent's office, or reaching out to our family and community engagement team. The resources are there. But again, it's just about the implementation in that process. We're trying to work that out to make sure that, we get to a point where every single one of our school sites is a community school that is well functioning, and is providing those resources to our community.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you for the presentation, Dr. Perez. I apologize, we should all be referring to you as Dr. Perez. I really, I found it to be very enlightening, insightful, I should say, and very promising. I think, one of the trends we witness here in the city is a lot of public school kids being accepted into prestigious universities, right? And going away and also coming back. Because I think to what you talked about, local identity, which is I maybe even weirdly important to Santaneros. We're almost like territorial, but in a good way, I would say. And so I really love the concept of community schools, because schools are community hubs. They're trusted institutions that are known to our families, that we often go back to for support, for help, to give back in many cases. And so I love the idea of building this concept around data and needs assessment, as you called it. And it just, it popped up a bunch of questions as to how the city manager's office, how the Parks and Recs department, how Public Works, really the entire all of the departments here can be good partners, right? When you're talking about having data that focuses on a particular neighborhood, that is saying to you, hey, we need housing because we don't want to lose enrollment, right? One of the number one issues families talk about is being priced out. And so that impacts enrollment in local schools, which then impacts property values. It's a snowball effect that I don't know if people truly understand. And so how is it, in those particular areas that we can have our housing staff there, maybe once a month or once a quarter, Tom, right? So that they can share the housing resources that we have, that the county may have on incorporated land in the district. When we're talking about green space, can we have parks there on a quarterly basis to talk about all the good things that are happening in our public parks? When I go out and visit different areas of my district, I always see our parks really full, and that brings a lot of joy into my life because I know that our facilities are being used by our families. So for example, if kids in a specific area are saying, hey, I'm finding myself with nothing to do after school. How can we take the library, right? We talked about the Beats program. There's a podcasting program, if I'm not mistaken, with the library. Many students, when I speak to them, I let them know, do you know that you can rent skateboards from our public library? And so those are the things that we want them to know about so that they feel supported and give us feedback. What is it that you feel that the city can do better in terms of addressing our very, very young population here in the city of Santa Ana? They play an important role in shaping the future of their city. And so we want to make sure that we're hearing from them. And so I really love the data in terms of social emotional being, education, the extracurricular activities. And I would actually like to see how we can have, even in terms of visibility, right? Seeing themselves, doing the work that a public works engineer does. Growing up, I didn't even know that those were opportunities for us. And so I think it's really important for them to know this is your home. And if you want to work for the city, this is the path that you can follow. And so I don't know what exactly the processes are with the school district, but if there's any way, Dr. Perez, that needs assessment data could be shared with the city managers, with our city manager here, so the departments know, where they can best help. I think that would be beneficial. And Tom, I'm open to hearing your feedback on this.
Well, thank you, former Chair Lopez. But it's a pleasure to be here tonight and to be sitting with all of you. This is an exciting program. I've worked in several cities that had really outstanding relationships with school districts. I think it's vital. My wife and I were heavily involved in our local school. That's where all our friends were. That's where we got together. That's our little community. It was really through the schools, and I feel really, strong about that. And so, from my perspective, we are doing so many good things in our parks and different things that we're, kind of operating independently and doing our own things and focusing on our work and our mission as different agencies. But in reality, it's the same constituents, it's the same residents, it's the same kids that we're looking to help in our Santa Ana community. So I think there's many ways we could collaborate and work together. In terms of sharing information, we have a lot of information to share. It really is all about how it fits and how it fits at the right time. That could be, as you're creating a new program, that could be overwhelming too, just trying to organize your own program, but we'd be happy to have a seat at the table and be a full participant in any way that makes sense for us.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll start to my right.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Maybe the commonality that we have, maybe our starting point could be just a sharing of information. There's a lot of, we have a data team, we have our own research department. We're constantly working on gathering data. We just finished our local control accountability plan listening sessions, towards where we went out to the different schools. We listened to students, we listened to parents, we listened to teachers. The state also requires us to do, I believe, two surveys that we're required to administer to everybody. And so we have data regarding, and we also have JS maps. The JS maps, you can put in whatever variable you want. We can locate all the kids that are living in poverty. We can identify income levels. We can identify educational levels of the community with health needs and stuff like that. So we have all that data available. And I have had a conversation with the superintendent before. We can share that information, would be more than willing to share that information. And I think with our next presentation, it's going to be about the work priorities, but everything that we're doing is data driven. We have our own research department. We're making data driven, utilizing what's called data driven decision making. And we're doing it for the benefit of our community.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Thank you. My final comments were just a suggestion, some direction for our city manager's office. Since there's an interest in sharing information, I think some information that would be most helpful to the community schools initiative would be parks and recreation information related to programming that we do currently provide, programming that is going to be in alignment with the two-prong approach, child and family. So the kickball programs that we have, the adult programming that can encourage, child family participation in the park. You can have a kid enrolled in pottery classes while mom and dad are playing kickball, right? That would be great. We have programming in Santa Ana that exists very close to these wonderful community schools you've listed. An example is Jerome Park. We have, of course, a lot of parks that are currently, having a lot of new infrastructure added to it. So as the community schools initiative rolls out, I think parks and recreation information is going to be helpful. We also are aware that there's a very large percentage of students who are McKinney-Vento students. We want to be cautious as a city to protect our children and families. We do have a rent control ordinance which protects children enrolled in Santa Ana Unified Schools, so that during a school year, if they are threatened with an eviction, they are protected under our ordinance. I think it's important for the city of Santa Ana to provide the Santa Ana rent control ordinance information specifically to how to protect children if you're facing a potential eviction. That's information that belongs to the public. These are ordinances that we passed here at the Santa Ana City Council. There's a lot of families that can benefit from knowing their rights. I'll share a very clear example. Students near Fremont Elementary, over 20 of their families reached out to me a while back, about a year and a half ago, and they all received very similar eviction notices. And our great staff here at the city of Santa Ana contacted every single one of those families, and they found out that these eviction notices were illegal due to our rent control ordinance. And every one of those families is still there. And so that goes to show you, that public information, I think is going to be crucial to protecting kids and families. We already have it at our disposal. We regularly put a newsletter together for it. So what I'd like our city manager's office to do, sir, is provide that information on a quarterly basis, as we are already providing that information to the public, and to also create a line of communication directly with the city, so that if a school that is a community school says, hey, we received information that parent XYZ received an eviction notice, there can be a continuity of care from the school to the city. So that way, if there is a community school that receives information on X amount of students receiving eviction notices, that's information that is pertinent to the city. We have an ordinance that can address those if these are tenants who live in a building that is under our rent control ordinance. So some direction I wanted to provide, and those will be my final comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments?
I just wanted to add on what Dr. Alvarez had mentioned of a sharing of data. We also take a safety survey on how safe children feel, and if we could add corridors to and from school, or parks, or places that they are in the city, then we can look at that data and make sure that there's programming, or do we do the right things to make sure children feel safe throughout their day in Santa Ana. I also want to announce my retirement from the kickball league, and I expect my jersey to be up in the rafters.
Did you even win?
We were in the championship.
I retract. Okay, any other comments? All right, I see nothing else. So we will close the discussion of the business calendar item 5 and move on to business calendar item 6, which is the district board priorities.
All right, thank you. So this is actually with great excitement that I share about our board priorities and really the direction of our district. This has been work that has taken place over several years. And I know that sounds kind of odd, but to get clarity in a system and an organization where you imagine you have, 50 plus schools and they're all showing up every day. And, we're moving the dials, and we're saying we're all moving in this direction, but without that clarity around exactly what we're after, that becomes very challenging. Every school site and every principal and every school staff is kind of doing their own thing, which could be good, but we don't want to leave things to chance. Like we have one opportunity to do this and do this well so that our students go through our system and really experience a high level of success and a high level of intentionality around the time that they spend in our system. So our board priorities, and I provided just on slide 2, just an overview of our school district, the number of students that we serve, how many are English learners, how many are free or reduced, are Latinx serving, and then you could kind of see the makeup of our employees, which I will point out, oftentimes are the residents of the city as well. So a large staff that actually do reside in the city. And we know that because we hear about those things all the time. And in our listening sessions, we learn about how many people, and I want to go back to something that you guys all talked about with that pride of being from Santa Ana, that is real. And we see that in our staff so often, that, they grew up here and they come back into our system and serve. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. It's something that really attracted me to be here in Santa Ana and serve in the role that I'm serving in. So when you look at those numbers of employees, there is a large portion that are from here.
Yeah, and I personally love that. And Dr. Perez, before you move on to the second slide, can you talk to us a little bit about, 41, almost 42% of students are English learners, right? And what exactly does that mean? Almost 74% of our students are in a free and reduced lunch program. What does that mean, right?
Okay.
They're not just getting free lunch for fun. What is it exactly that tells you? And also if you could specify the difference between certified staff and
Mhm.
classified staff,
Sure.
that would be a good.
Sure. So thank you for pausing me because we do get into our educational jargon and these things all mean something to me that they might not like have clarity to everybody else. So I appreciate you asking those like clarifying questions. So I'll start with our students. And so an English learner, a student comes into our system, and when they enroll and their parents enroll them, or families enroll them, they identify as Spanish being the predominant language in the home. And so that is, at that moment, is an indicator for us that this student is an English learner. So I'm going to get on a little soapbox because this, and I believe at the state level, this is going to start to change because that in and of itself is a deficit. We actually are talking about our students as multilingual. So recognizing that they, again, bring an asset in that they have another language. But for now, this is the language that is used in the state. So our English learners are students whose language is predominant language is not English. And so we know that in order to serve students who are not having English as their dominant language, there are other supports that we have to wrap around them so that they can access the learning. And so what you see with 41% is actually not the number when students come into our system. Our kindergarten students, like our youngest learners, that number is much higher. So 41% means that we've got them in our system and they've learned the language. They're demonstrating that they have command of the language. And we expect that to happen in, 3 to 5 years is usually what we're looking for. So at any given moment, right now today, 41.6% are still on that journey. It doesn't mean that a student comes into our system and stays an English learner. They're doing something that's called reclassifying. So they can come into the system not having command of the English language, and then they get specialized supports and access and learning, and we expect that they will be able to demonstrate that they have command of the language. Okay, so that is what an English learner is. That's the state of 41% of our students right now today still need additional support so that they can access their learning. The 73.4% with our free and reduced is determined on income level of a family. And so that also gets reported. And so you're right, it's not this arbitrary thing. It's actually based on information that families share with us about their status, their economic status. And so you know, that tells you a lot. It's, and I'll sit here and like, truthfully, I don't remember the exact annual income that a family has to be less than to actually receive that, because it fluctuates a little bit from year to year based on lots of economic factors. And then you see 96% of our students Latinx serving district. So then I'll jump to the question that you asked about our employees. So you see, bless you, certificated staff is about 2,900. That encompasses anybody who requires a credential, somebody who's certificated, a teacher, a counselor, a school psychologist, a speech and language pathologist. Anybody that has a credential is a certificated employee. So we have 2,900 certificated employees. And then our classified employees, 3,396. That can be a little different depending on our, our rates of vacancies and things like that. But that's our ballpark of where we are. And classified employees make up every single other support person in our system who helps us serve students each and every day. Like, that instruction cannot happen without our custodial teams, without our front office teams, without our nutritional service teams, without all of the other folks, like building services, folks behind the scenes. All those folks are classified employees. Mhm. All right. So this, and actually it's labeled slide 12 because this comes from what I'm going to say is a template. Every single presentation we do, these slides are included because it is the backbone of everything that we do in our district, and our board has provided direction around the board priorities, and then we built everything else around it. So the 4 rectangular things that you see kind of at the center there that are serving as the foundation to what looks like a pyramid, with student achievement, wellness, family and community engagement, and then organizational efficiency and effectiveness are our board priorities. And our board, and they can speak, more in depth to this, but went through a process of identifying the things that they want us as staff to move, to show progress, to show that we are moving the dials on these things. So with student achievement, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, we provided updates to the board around the metrics that we have identified that we're moving, and report out on a regular basis how we're making progress. So these aren't just for, fun and like it sounds good. These are things we actually work towards and talk about and think about every single day, because we know when we are focused on student achievement and wellness, that is supported by family and community engagement and operational efficiency and effectiveness, then we have the right formula to do the things that we need to do to serve our students best. And so there are metrics tied to each of these board priorities. And then you see that graduate profile that is what I referred to before as the North Star. That's the thing that we're committing to our community, that we're going to help our students accomplish, and that they will be able to demonstrate as they go through our system. We want students who are global thinkers. We want students who are architects of their own learning. We want students to have that agency. And I will share that we've engaged so many people in these conversations in our system, and our students have shed so much light on what this means to them. We were able to have students in space with us, and they're so smart and it's so amazing. Like the things that they were just like telling us how they see this and how they think it should take shape in our system, that are helping us refine what those expectations are and how we're going to help them have access to be able to demonstrate what it means to be and well, what it means to demonstrate that graduate profile. So that in and of itself is really the student-centered ecosystem. And some of the pieces that you see around are the mechanisms that we have in place that help us do this. So we have our LCAP, which you heard Dr. Alvarez reference a little bit ago, that we had listening sessions where we were bringing folks from all over the district to several schools so that we can get input. The LCAP is designed as a plan to help us, target our resources in the right way so we can accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish. Our board priorities are what guide our LCAP. So when I talked about alignment before, it's really about getting all of these parts and pieces in alignment so that we're not distracted. That happens very easily in systems. Something looks great and we're off, going in that direction. We're really trying to be very intentional about what we're doing. So we have our district LCAP, but how that manifests itself at the school site is through what you see as the SAUSD SPSA. So I'll tell you what that means because it's all jargon. This is our single plan for student achievement. Every single school creates an SPSA. It is their plan. It's like taking the macro big district plan and saying, okay, this is what it looks like at Fremont. This is what it looks like at Wilson. This is what it looks like at Valley. So we're ensuring that we're all going in the same direction and we're working towards the same things, but we know that every school has to look a little bit different in order to honor that, the identity of that immediate community and the families that we're serving, which then couples with what you see on your far left is the community schools. That's the other piece that we're saying is going to be critical in helping us realize that success and the graduate profile, which really is about students paving their way and having choice in how they pursue college and career readiness. So that in a high level view is really our board priorities and how we tie all of the pieces together in our district. We're not a day goes by that we don't talk about this image that you see here and really talking about how we're accomplishing that. It does really serve as that visual reminder for us every day. And then I just wanted to break down the graduate profile on the next slide for you to see a little more in depth what the characteristics are and how we're going about accomplishing those things. And then the last slide that you see there, I wanted to just share with you some of the work that we are not done with, but we're working on is around that mission, vision, and value. So having that be the another guiding post for us. All of the things that you see there are pieces that are interconnected to help us accomplish, the graduate profile and in turn deliver for our board the things that they expect us to deliver. The far right really is our learning model. So this outlines for the instructional side of the district in real explicit detail, like these are the things that we are going to do for our students. We're going to give them personalized learning opportunities. We're going to have equity at the forefront of everything that we do. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions or comments by the subcommittee members?
Oh, I just have a comment because I'm a teacher from a small learning community in Santa Ana, and we have 3 California Partnership Academies in Santa Unified. We have e-business and Teach Academy at Century, amazing good work, and then we're global business at Valley. And what we do is we have cohorts of kids, 9th to 10th grade, and we meet every Wednesday on our prep period. And we talk about the kids and what they need. And all these things you want to do, their elementary school teachers are able to do it because they're the one teacher. And then you have the parent engagement, you have the family engagement, they're coming in. More parents come to visit our elementary than they do high school or junior high. And we lose a lot of kids in junior high. So I would like to see, and the work that we do in global business is there's 500 California Partnership Academies in the state. We have been awarded a distinguished academy, and out of the 520 are called Lighthouse Academies, we're a Lighthouse Academy as well. We do the work. It takes time. Like everybody has to do extra time and it works. And it's amazing because we see the kids might be not passing or not doing good work, but once they come through us, their grades go up. It's actually beneficial. They feel like a family. We have a senior event at the banquet and kids are crying. Well, I'm crying, not the kids, I'm crying, but we're family. We feel like we went through something where we meet and we get to know the children's specific needs and what's happening at home and how we can help them with that or how we can support them or anything that might be going on in their life. With small learning communities, it's really a wraparound service because you have every teacher talking and then I might not have a connection, but I know Miss Risk has connections to one type of student. This other teacher, there's 8 of us now, and we all have different connections, and we can support that one teacher to support the child. And it's missing in junior high. And I know I know the kids fall behind in junior high, and it's kind of hard to, once they could become freshmen and sophomores, to help them out of bad habits. But if they had a small learning community, and we could do that with community schools, that would be something, because not everybody knows about small learning communities. They're not gonna know the other solutions, but it's something to look into, and I hope we can bring it on to junior highs. I know it's expensive because you have to add FTEs to the support a wall-to-wall school of small learning communities, but I've seen it work. It has helped on my professional job has been better for it. I could get a kid to get an A in my class, but then he or she would have 5 Fs. And the next year they still wouldn't do good, but they had a good relationship with me. But since I've been in global business, that child has, 3 Cs, 2 Bs, an A. They're graduating. There's a change in their life when they're cared for every day. And you have 3 or more teachers who are connected. So that helps a lot.
Thank you, subcommittee member. Any other comments or questions? So no direction for staff on this item, but thank you for presenting the graduate profile, which I think is super informational for all of our families to know and understand the priorities of the board. So thank you for that. We will move on to item 7, early childhood education. Is there a staff presentation? Or a presentation in general? No?
There's no presentation. It's just, I guess, a follow-up from our previous, this was on the agenda before.
Okay.
And now that we talked about our community schools, now that we talked about our board priorities, I wanted to bring it back again to see how we can work together. We had a presentation at one of our board meetings regarding the conditions of children in Orange County. Social Services Agency conducts that report every year. And could you run by some of those numbers that we talked about?
Will you refresh my memory?
We talked about mental health, the mental health, the hospitalization, rates of depression and all that.
Oh, yes. Let me get my computer because I want to make sure I'm accurate with that. Hang on.
Maybe if I could just interject, maybe that's something that we could present to the full council, because I think many members of our community would be interested in seeing the data as to how many people in our community are experiencing issues with their mental health, and what we can do as separate agencies in the city that are trying to work together to address those ongoing concerns. But go ahead.
Well, tying it into early childhood education and the conditions of children in Orange County, that report is broken down city by city. And historically, there has been a trend that our children have lower rates of vaccination, our children have lower rates of medical care, our children have lower rates of developmental screenings. So our children are behind the other children in Orange County, and for us, that's significant. So, for example, if a child has a learning disability, and it's not identified when they're 3 years old, it's not identified until they're 5 years old or until they enter our school system. So that's already years that we've lost that we could have been providing services. And if a child is identified as having developmental disability, we are, as a school district, we're required to service them. Even if they're not enrolled in our district, we're still required to service them. So going back to early childhood education, I think that there's so many ways that we can work together, tying early childhood education into the developmental process and also into the literacy. You know, there's simple things that we can do. For example, this week we're doing Read Across America. So every one of our schools, we're focusing on literacy, on reading. The library has the summer program focusing on reading. The other thing that I was also thinking about was, there used to be the Children's March here in Santa Ana. So why can't we do a Children's March, tie it into a resource center? We're bringing all our early childhood education providers, and we'll use them as an opportunity to educate our community and to provide those resources to our community. But going to early childhood education, I think that there's a lot of different ways that we can work together.
Got it. Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Lester.
Thank you, Madam. I fully concur, Dr. Alvarez, subcommittee member. I think it's important that the city of Santa Ana work collaboratively with the Santa Ana Unified School District, given that we are investing in early childhood education. We have partnered with Saley on some park amenities in both Angels Park, which is in Ward 5, shared very close to Ward 2. We're also very excited about the amenities that are coming to the 10th and Flower Park, a brand new park in the Willard community, which will feature many amenities that are going to highlight early childhood development. And as a city, we recently brought back to El Salvador Park through Parks and Recreation a early childhood daycare program, which had not been in El Salvador Park for about 15 plus years. In addition to that, a teen space next door, so that there's a continuity of care, within the community center. I think El Salvador Park's a good example of how Parks and Rec is creating infrastructure to support the children and family components of it, because we know in our city, education is a social determinant over a person's lifetime. And if we can prepare kids over the first 5 years, that is a priority to us on the council. We are creating infrastructure programs, and I think this alignment of agencies is really important. And this is the highlight of what the subcommittee is doing, is bringing these agencies closer together. So what I would like our city manager's office to do is to share information related to that childcare programming that we currently are providing, whether it be through ARPA funding, CDBG funding, general dollars, through Parks and Rec. I know, for example, a great place of interest to families in the Fremont elementary community is the daycare program at El Salvador Park. So I think having this information is important, as well as any other early childhood education programming that we have within Parks and Rec. If we can get all of that information over to Santa Ana Unified, I think that we can begin this partnership with information and resources, and then we can start to add more infrastructure and what have you. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so thank you for your comments, Dr. Alvarez. I'm a big proponent of early childhood education. It really does set the foundation for somebody's life moving forward. And I think one of the things that has really come to the forefront for me and being in this role is your students are our constituents, and things that don't get managed at an early age essentially end up being a city's problem, right? And so I really want our residents to think about that, because it is incumbent upon all of us, and it's in our best interest to work collectively to make sure that our students feel supported. And so I would like for us to have a presentation. I am interested in seeing the data as to the status of kids in not just the city, District 2, but Orange County. I think, when a presentation is given to us, if there could be a big focus on the stats for Santa Ana, of course, that would be helpful. And so, Tom, I don't know if you would like for this body to take a motion on that, or if you have sufficient direction. I open it up to your feedback.
No, that what you're explaining makes a lot of sense. What is the facts? What is the data? I think that's always helpful. to have that information. What occurs to me is we could work closely with the school district and just obtaining that information. I don't know, immediately today where I find that information. I do know the social service agency at the county does track some of that information. The school district probably definitely does as well. We might do some of that as well. So it might take a little while to compile that together. But that kind of information is always helpful. And when you know the data, then you could strategize about how to collaboratively work together and solve problems. So we could talk as staff and then reach out to the district staff about starting that discussion. That might take a little while to pull that together.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, got it. We will move on to item number 8, media centers and libraries. Is there a presentation?
There's no presentation. This is a continuance. I had placed this on the agenda a while back. The last conversation that we had, the city staff said that we have media centers, you guys use libraries, and that's where the conversation ended. But I just wanted to bring it back up again. Libraries are important. Growing up, I grew up in libraries. Whenever the bookmobile used to go to Salvador Park, we would wait. We would wait there, until it got there. And I remember junior high school and high school, I was at the Santa Ana Public Library all the time, and so I grew up in the library, not just me, but also my kids nowadays are also telling me that once the library closes after school, they go to Santa Ana Public Library. So I think that it's important to make sure that we make libraries readily accessible to our community. And the reason that I wanted to bring this up is because we're talking about our community schools. So our community schools, that's an opportunity for us to co-locate a library on our campuses, and even though we have media centers, you guys have full libraries, there's nothing preventing us from transforming a media center into a full library. Over at Century, I think it was at Century up into Century and Valley up into 2008, we ran libraries at Century and at Valley High School. In 2008, we hit a financial crisis and we had to stop that. But the thing is, it's been done before. We can do it again. The other thing that I wanted to point out is over in Eastville at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, the Eastville Community Library is co-located on the high school. So during the day, the library is closed to the public. At 3:30, when school is out, from 3:30 to 8:30 or 9, I think it is, it's open to the public. Anybody can go, they can check out books, they can use computers and all that. So, and I think that that's something that would be beneficial to our community. And so I just wanted to bring that up again, that we do have this opportunity with the community schools, the transformation to community schools. I think that this would be a perfect opportunity for us to explore, where can we do full libraries or micro libraries, or maybe even libraries just dedicated to early childhood education. So this is a unique opportunity.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just the same as Dr. Alvarez. My family, we didn't have a lot of money, and when my dad got tired of us, he would say, go to the library. It was free. The library is great. So we'd go to McFadden Library, and it's no longer McFadden Library, it's a Pell Center. We would go check out 8 books. We max out. Me, my sister, my brother, my little sister. And I'd read my books really fast, and I'd end up reading Beverly Clearly, Ramona the Pest and whatever, because I read whatever she took out because I read mine quick. And we just became readers because of libraries. We have a lack of libraries. Other cities our size might have 9, 12 libraries, and we have 3. So even though there's this a cliff for the budget coming up, I want staff to continue to think about how we can continue to build libraries, specifically in central Santa Ana, and I'm hopefully somewhere on the Bristol corridor and Edinger or down even to Maine. We're gonna need libraries to support our families, to support literacy in Santa Ana. It's uplifting to the community. It's an uplifting to have the kind of employees that are gonna bring in businesses and industry that to support them, to have a working class population that is educated. So I'm gonna continue to push for libraries Did I say libraries again, or did I say libraries? Did I change it? Libraries, I'm a English learner. Hawk. So, I'm gonna continue to push, and for, our youth are asking for teen centers as well, place to, for they can be safe and talk and be able to, expand their skills and their knowledge. So I'm gonna continue to push for it.
Thank you. Any other
Thanks.
questions or comments? Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I just wanted to share, I'm supportive of finding a pathway forward for our city to support the expansion of the media centers into libraries. That would be a conversation that I think would be inclusive of our libraries department, finding out, what is working for us within the library. What are some areas where we can support these students? Maybe it's us finding ways to support with providing a limited number of resources from the Library of Things or X amount of books. But I figured it could be a collaborative effort where we meet 50-50 or whatever that looks like. But I think that could be a resourceful way for us to help get this off the ground, is the sharing of resources. We are expanding an outdoor library in Jerome in Councilmember Vasquez and I's district, and it'll be the first of its kind in Southern California. And it's going to be something new to the city. So I see that we're going the same direction. And I think for us to find a pathway forward isn't as complex. I think it's just a matter of figuring out how do we delegate what we can do for our community. We're serving the same constituents. That's my final comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Bustos?
Thank you. I just have a few comments. From a personal experience, I've always lived on the southern end of the city, so access to libraries for myself and my family have always been difficult. And so I really want to highlight the importance of libraries in our community, and I really want to also highlight and thank, the city for their continued efforts in trying to make public libraries more accessible. And I agree with the comments that have been made, and really beginning to look at how we could potentially work together to open up, our spaces, our schools for the community to be able to access books and access libraries. Um, Also potentially maybe looking at how we can have some of the city library staff at our school sites during events, actually opening up library cards for families, right, at the events, and sharing about the different, a lot of people don't know about the Library of Things. That's a super, super cool thing that I didn't know about until, recently. And that's just another resource that, we can make available to our families. And I think it all really starts in meeting our families and meeting our students where they're at. And that's something that I've always been an advocate for, and making sure that when we want to share resources or when we want to provide opportunities for our families, that we make it clear that we are meeting them where they're at. Our parents, our students are going to be on our campuses. So, let's see if we can find ways to work together where, again, we can even get, library staff there opening up library cards for our students and families, to not take away from our valuable city libraries as well, right? So I think just any ways that we can work together to really open up access to books is critical, and it's important, especially now. And so yeah, so I'm supportive of this, and really working together to find a solution.
Thank you. So I'll provide my comments and then we'll go a second round if there are other comments. So super supportive. I think we're all in agreement up here about the benefits of public libraries and how much they give back to their communities. And whether it's the district opening their facilities or us on the city side doing more, I think we're all in agreement that more must be done in terms of trying to, close the gaps that exist in the current system. And so I like your idea, Chair, of promoting Library of Things, I'll say cross jurisdictionally, like if we can give the school district staff, promotional media kits that they can share on our behalf, and vice versa, if the school district can provide media kits for us to share information that pertains to our family, we're happy to be supportive and do those like low-hanging fruit. I also really like your idea about having the library department at the school sites. If there are any big events, please feel free to share that information with Tom's office. And another thing that I just kind of want to throw out there, I often hear from college students about the need of study spaces after hours. You know, a lot of our students will go to Cal State Long Beach or Fullerton, UCI, UCLA. I know some that even commute to UC San Diego. And so during finals week, they're looking for places to find somewhere to study or do research late at night. And so I just would like to open that idea up for the school district as you continue to push and explore how your community hubs can be opened, and for our staff. To keep that in mind as we move through the budget process. Can we do some sort of pilot where we know that Cal State Fullerton is going to be in finals, and can we say 2 to 3 days we'll test this idea out and see what the response from the community is? Because I think that's something, well, I know that's something that at my office often hears about. So those are my comments. Any other suggestions?
I just really quick, I got my library card. I signed up for my library card at Monte Vista Elementary. So they brought us the applications. We signed up. The bookmobile pulled up to the school and we checked out a book. So that's really a great way to get many children involved where the bookmobile visits our schools and the teacher will help them fill out a week before to sign up the kids for the bookmobile.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Alfonso.
Just a final comment. This item was placed in the agenda to start the conversation, to start dialogue, to see if there's mutual interest. The one thing that I did want to mention is that this is a unique opportunity, not just because of the community schools, but the other thing that's going on in our district is we have declining enrollment. So because of the fact that we have declining enrollment, that means that we have flexibility regarding our facilities. You know, now we might have room that we didn't have before. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to explore, you know, if libraries is a priority, well, let's co-locate libraries within our schools. And I didn't specifically come in with any site in mind. I keep mentioning Century and Valley because that's where they were done before. But maybe one of the things that we can do is we can have our staff take a look at where is the highest need. You know, if we were to do a pilot study with one library or 2 or 3 libraries or whatever, maybe our staff can give us direction, go out, get the data, come back and say, hey, you know what, this is where the highest need is. Those are my comments.
Got it. Thank you for your suggestion. I really like the concrete direction. And so I don't know if that's needs assessment data or that's data from the city, but I think both can be beneficial to one another. And I think that can help guide the decision as to where we can look for a new site or if there's a facility available from SAUSD that they're willing to lease to the city or whatnot. Really start to enter those conversations because I know, as you mentioned, you've put this on the agenda in the past. And so we really want to see, you know, those conversations moved forward. At least that's the direction, the comments that I'll give to our city staff. I don't know if the trustees can carry that to their board back.
Yes.
Thank you. I also, you know, I think before we close out this conversation, I would like for the city, Tom, on our end, and if the school district can help, audiobooks are really popular nowadays and they're free and accessible through a public library card. So if students sign up for the Santa Ana Public Library, they have access to different content creators and what is it called? Libby and Hoopla. They can access that through our public library site. And those are free resources for them to be aware about. So I would like to see us share that content. All right, anything else? Okay, we'll close the discussion on item 8. We will move on to item 9.
So I put this on the agenda because I want to start having dual use parks. We have many neighborhoods that don't have access to a walkway area to a park. And specifically Martin Elementary, it's surrounded by houses on all 4 sides and there's no parks in that area. And Martin Elementary provides an open big space on the backside with huge gates that at one time were open. I think they were dual use before. I think that was a dual use park. That's why I chose it, the neighborhood that needs it. And I know that, I used to live in Hettinger Park and there isn't a walk to space either. So that would be a great place, to use a park. So these neighborhoods that we see that are surrounded by big streets on four sides, there should be a space for them, for families who are impacted, who just need a place to get out, um, of the house because there might be 10, 12 people living in an apartment in a 800 square foot space. And they need a space to go out and be comfortable and safe. So for our schools, hopefully we can work on it. It can have, start conversations, and I would love it as well for Pio Pico and Lowell Elementary. We're heavily impacted places. So we can have, parks for families who are deeply in need.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Subcommittee Member Vasquez, because this is a topic that is important to the council, is park space. We are a park poor community that is aggressively working on addressing that deficit, but the need is still there, and it's clearly there in the Henninger community. I am supportive of us working collaboratively with Santa Ana Unified School District on creating I guess, a joint use agreement for Hettinger and our residents to be able to utilize that space after school hours. What I would suggest is having the outdoor space be available to students, the play space be available to students, and perhaps that joint use agreement, could entail, our parks and recreation maintenance of the property after hours, very similar to what we do in the Willard community. We do have a joint use agreement there. So I think this would be a good agreement that can serve many residents there. And I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'm supportive of it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So I want to be in compliance with the Brown Act. I know that joint use master plan is not on the agenda, but is there any way that Tom or Hawk, you can provide a brief overview of how far it's moved along since the last time that we've met?
I don't have that information, but Hawk could provide that. In general, I think this is a great idea. They are public property. It's owned by all of us as residents. And this just makes a lot of sense we're deficient in parks, like we say. Well, how do we do that? And there's ways that I've worked in cities where we if we're open during the evening hours and there's graffiti, well, the city helps pay for the cost of that graffiti. We pay for graffiti in a lot of different areas and when it happens, and there's ways to share maintenance costs and other things, with the sole purpose of the city not having to invest in a brand new park and create more park space and maintain new space. It's harder than maintaining what we've got. And there's definitely ways where you could turn a school site with an agreement that makes sense, and ensuring that, number one, it's an educational facility and that's the purpose of it. But then after hours, how can that have picnic shelters and other kinds of amenities that serve the general purpose needs, with an understanding that there's costs associated to maintain those things, and you share those costs, and the city would greatly benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about the formal master plans. Hawk, any information on that?
Yeah, and so just before you get started, just a reminder to the board here that because it's not on the agenda, it cannot be an in-depth discussion, and please refrain from asking too many questions.
I'm just gonna
Or
give
no
you,
questions.
I'll give you a quick update. Like I said, like you guys know, we do meet every month with our tech committee. One of the last meetings we did talk about some joint use. We were talking about Davis, Martin, all those. And the school district was gonna get back to us. One of their biggest concern is the proximity, of, people possibly get into a school. So they're gonna look into it and get back to us. And then we would come back to, set some rules on what we do, hours, lighting, everything like that. So, it's a work in progress. I've been in cities before that we've had plenty of joint use, and it's just signage and just working together with the school district. As far as a joint use agreement, it is in progress again. Before they've had a change at the guard a little bit of who was working with us. Orrin Williams was one of the ones spearing it, but he did leave us. They now got a new person inside, and we're starting to meet again to start getting that inside and start exploring ideas and options we can do. So it is a work in progress, but we will get there.
Okay, great. Thank
Right.
you. All right. So any other questions or comments on this particular item? Okay, staff, do you have direction? Perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to item 10, which is provide SAUSD training and FACE programming to city resources, including housing, rent control information, and worksite center services. The floor is open for discussion.
I'll start the discussion. I just wanted to say, I'm very happy that this item is on the agenda. I think we touched on this topic very, very briefly earlier today on the topic of community schools, but I would like to see the city of Santa Ana work closer with Santa Ana Unified School District on providing city resources related to housing. And that not just be information, limited to information, but as we've had grants in the past to help people with rent relief, as we have programs like this that come about, down payment assistance, ADU programs, these are all the type of city resources that I think are important to families. Rent control information, and then worksite center services. So I would like that to be comprehensive as far as, workshops that we're providing, calendars of when these different city events take place related to city resources, and specifically to have a stronger relationship with the school board, whereas we have events that are coming up, let's say, related to, the community, whether it be, Fiestas Patrias, that there's access to that information at each of the FACE locations, and just encouraging a stronger working relationship with SAUSD. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I did.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to elaborate on that. I think going along with the community school models, what we're envisioning is our staff becoming knowledgeable regarding city services, and city staff becoming knowledgeable regarding everything that we have available. There's been a couple of times when Parks and Rec staff have approached me and said, hey, you know what? I got this family, they don't have food, or they need medical care, all this. So I link them up and I tell them, hey, we got all these resources over here. And city staff have been asking me, well, why can't you guys give us some sort of training to tell us everything that we have? We do have people that are staff that work specifically with our motel kids. We have a lot of kids living in motels. We have a liaison that works with our McKinney-Vento kids. We have 5,000. Well, we had 5,600. We're doing a survey right now. I expect that the number is going to go higher. So there's a lot of resources that we do have available, and we try to share that information within our school community. But I think that it's important for those that are outside the school community to have access to that information, because the bottom line is there are kids. They're in our schools. When they leave our schools, they go to Parks and Recs. We're working with the same kids. The problems that the kids have in our schools don't go away when they go onto city facilities. So I think it's really important that we work on mutually educating each other regarding all the different services that we have available.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, I
Go
thank
ahead.
you. I put this on the agenda because I know I really want to push forward the education of rent control. Because if you don't know you have rent control, you don't have rent control. And I want to make sure our families are empowered. And I know we have community schools coming in, but every school should have it. So that's why they have to do FACE. And every information, and I know many people go to our FACE liaisons for jobs, for information. Like, we have a great service where we even have clothing for families who need, who are going to interviews, or people are going to get interviews. So as much information as we can get to the FACE liaison, and they're trained, and equally, I thank you for saying back to us, hey, we have resources as well, so you can help, and we have just a holistic way of servicing all the constituents, all the residents of Santa Ana would be great. We know the more we work together, the more we share information, the better Santa Ana is going to be. So thank you for looking at this and discussing it, and I appreciate it. And there's so many more information. I just want to go and take another tour of the worksite center because I forgot half the things that they offer. They were just piling on. Mike Garcia and his crew are doing a great job. So they were just pounding everything that they gave us, but I would like to go again. But, and I would recommend any of you to take a tour of the work center as well.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you. I love that this item is on the agenda, and having conversations with our family and community engagement liaisons at each one of our school sites. Topic of conversation that always comes out is just the desire for, or the hunger for more resources. Not that they're not already out there, but just the knowledge of resources, right? The wealth of resource and being able to share that information. And so oftentimes what I've heard is our face liaisons are really working with each other, right? From across different school sites to share this wealth of information. And I think that, the city and the school district have been working in silos for a really long time. And I think that right now we really are in a moment where we can work together to really streamline a lot of this information that really, again, benefits all of our students, all of our families that live in Santana. And so I'm really looking forward to see how we can work together to get some presentations into our school sites around rent control, around housing. We've talked about it, and it's a topic of conversation that comes up often, surrounding our decrease in enrollment, right? And we know that a majority of that decrease really has to do with birth rates, but we also know that housing is really unaffordable now, especially here in Orange County, here in Santana, where we're really losing a lot of our students to the IE. And so it's important for our families, again, to know their rights, to know the resources that are out there in the community. And we have, we have dedicated staff that can do that work and can share that information. So any way that we can work together to get that information out and work with the city, I think it's valuable and it's important, and I'll support.
Thank you. So Dr. Perez, I this is where I will defer to you. Is there some sort of assembly or quarterly meeting with FACE liaisons where our staff can, from the various departments that are mentioned here, can go and present this information and to take physical paperwork for them to have as well?
Yes, actually, our face liaisons come together once a month. They're looking at data, they're looking at trends. So this topic fits right in. We have other folks come in also and share from the county around mental health support services. So that would not be an unusual thing for their capacity to be built around, resources and information that they can then in turn be sharing out with their immediate communities.
Okay, great. So then I'll make a motion that by the time we meet next time, April 15th, there'll be some sort of date on the calendar for staff to present at one of these monthly meetings where all FACE liaisons from the school district will be. And the topic of conversation or training, I should say, are going to be city resources, including housing, rent control information, and worksite center services. And if I could add, youth-related services as well.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you.
And this is a question for Director Hawk. Director Hawk Scott, you'll be including information for parents as well, right? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Like to take roll call?
Sure. So a motion by Committee Member Lopez, seconded by Committee Member Hernandez to direct staff to determine a date for city staff to present to the monthly FACES meeting and have that date available by the next meeting on April 15th.
Thank you.
Committee Member Alvarez,
Yes.
Committee Member Bustos,
Yes.
Committee Member Lopez,
Yes.
Committee Member Vasquez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez.
Yes.
My apologies, Chair Bustos. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. That concludes business calendar item number 10. We will move on to number 11, connect all SAUSD VAPA programs to present at city events. Who put this on the?
Oh, that was me again.
Okay, go ahead.
We have a great mariachi at Car Intermediate. They just won an award this last weekend, right? They won an award at a conference for, best music band. And we have I think we have a beautiful Polynesian dance team at Valley. We have like one of the best dance groups I've seen also at Valley, and Santa Ana by all rights has a great marching band. And, our Arts and Culture Commissioner is Robin McNair there still? Is Robin McNair? She's the Director of Arts at Santa Ana Unified School District. So we could connect with her and make sure like we just fill it up with SAUSD. I would also like to include, I would also like to include for Chicano Heritage Festival, if we can have art displayed by the ethnic studies clubs. We have an amazing program with this really great teacher at Valley High School. It's Mr. Vasquez, who does murals and, come on, Hawk. Who does a lot of work on with art with the kids. So it would like to be great to be presented at the Chicano Festival as well. But throughout the district, we have very talented. I've worked across from Willard, Century, and now Valley, Pio Pico as well. And I know we have a really artistic and creative students. So it'd be great just for them to be out there at as many events as we could.
Great. Can someone explain what VAPA is?
Sure, that's our Visual and Performing Arts program.
Okay. And did you have one ask or two? I didn't catch the first one.
Present at city events, and then I added ethics studies because
Okay, got it. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, first and foremost, thank you, Subcommittee Member Vasquez, for bringing this to the committee. I am supportive of our city partnering with SAUSD VAPA programs to present at city events. What I would like to be very specific about is there should always be school district involvement at every single major event that the city has. That means booths, but in addition to booths, they should also have students presenting on stage. When we have a Juneteenth festival, we have a very low percentage of African-American students, but those students are important and should be part of those performances, whether it's telling their own narrative, in the form of poetry, art, or displaying art, or learning about local history in Santa Ana and writing about it. The city of Santa Ana has some very good resources that we can share. We designated Willits Rate as Black History Square. We have a Helen Ship mural. We work very closely with the Black history in the community. I would like to see students engage there. I am supportive of seeing students be part of the Chicano Heritage Festival, both, including the mariachi, also including the ethnic studies, but also visual and performing arts. If there are students that would like to share poetry or, writing samples that they have about, who they are and their narratives as it pertains to ethnic studies, they should be given those platforms on our city event stages. I am supportive of that. And I think that, furthermore, other ways that we can partner is taking a look at like the Winter Village that we have, incorporating Santa Ana Unified Schools district students, perhaps their choir, so that they can have performances, that are in alignment with the different holidays that we have. We also have, local, community history. We have, Dia del Niño here in Santa Ana, which we've had, city funded for 10+ years. It's important that we incorporate students and their narratives, and maybe it looks like, working closer with them specifically on that event, since this event is highlighting children, but just some preliminarily, some ideas that I wanted to provide to our city manager and to the subcommittee. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes, just a quick thought, like something like, for example, Chicano Heritage, why couldn't we do a showcase? Our VAPA showcase, but I wanted to turn it over to Dr. Perez real quick, if you can talk just a little bit about what visual and performing art encompasses and what we have in our district.
Sure. So that includes our music programs, all of our music programs, as well as our art programs. We have we like poetry. There is performance art, drama. So it's wide ranging, and we do have very, very talented and stellar students in our district. I'm so proud of all of, the awards that they've been and recognition that they've been receiving. Dr. Alvarez, is there any other pieces that you want me to specifically highlight?
No, I just want to mention so that everybody's aware that we have, so for example, we have the Edward James Olmos Film Academy at Santa High School. And we have photographers. I don't know if you've seen them on social media, but we have kids that are constantly out there from our photography department taking pictures. And then we have poets and we have writers and we have all of these kids. And I just wanted to highlight that we have a lot of really talented students. You know, Bella Wilson and Jesus Ruiz, they went to Sacramento. They were invited to sing in an honors choir. The first time that any school in our district has been invited to that event. So they went out there to sing. And then our Willard, they got invited to New York City or Washington, D.C. or somewhere out there, Washington, D.C. And we have some really talented and amazing kids, and I want us to make sure that we give them an opportunity to showcase their talents, because by showcasing their talents, maybe that'll motivate other kids. You know, we have at Santa Ana High School, we have 2 8th graders playing with the band, not just practicing. They went to every football game. They went to every marching band competition. This is the first time in 10 years that any school district band has made it to the band championship. Santa Ana High School made it this year. They made it with 2 8th graders playing in the band. So we do have a lot of talent. I think that let's brag about our kids. Let's brag about them.
I want to make a motion that the city of Santa Ana will work closely with SAUSD to bring students from SAUSD to perform at our events.
I'll second your motion.
Any other questions or comments? I'm sorry, just looking around.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
if, like, do you want to take roll call?
Sure. Committee Member Alvarez,
Yes.
Committee Member Lopez,
Yes.
Committee Member Vasquez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Chair Bustos.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for adding the item to the agenda. And so subcommittee member, that is the end of our business calendar. And so we will move on to subcommittee member comments. And so I will call on each member for their comments. Committee Member Alvarez.
Just a couple of quick comments. I just want to mention that I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to engage in dialogue here. It's been a while since we've had these conversations, and I'm really happy with the way that our conversation turned out. And let's keep this energy going. You know, we gave presentation on community schools and our board priorities, and there's a lot of commonalities that we have. All of us want what is best for our community. Let's keep working together and let's keep moving forward. And we're going to do a lot of great things for our community.
Agreed. Thank you. Committee Member Vasquez.
I love the conversation and then this committee and the work that we've done today. As we uplift our students, we will uplift Santa Ana. And this is the way for the future to improve Santa Ana and our outlook. So I think we should continue to meet and have these conversations and seek as many places as we can as we support each other and we support our families, because this is of the utmost importance for them to have all the resources available to them and the resources we can give them as a city.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking Dr. Perez for filling in for our superintendent today. I've had conversations with our superintendent, have asked that we do have at least, you know, him or you, Dr. Perez, present during these conversations, so that we can really have so that we can have good dialogue around the issues that are impacting our community. I want to thank the other subcommittee members for your commitment to our schools, your commitment to our students and families. I'm looking forward to serving as the chair and really being able to have conversations and dialogue about issues that really impact our families and our students, and really try to work together to find solutions so that we can bring them back to our respective bodies and really start moving things. So thank you. And I want to thank former Chair Lopez for finishing our meeting today and running our meeting today. And with that, good night.
Excuse you, I haven't gone.
Good night on my end.
Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam. Just want to thank our city staff as well as school district staff for being here today. Thank you, Dr. Perez. My apologies for calling you Lorraine. You worked way too hard for someone to undermine you, so I just want to be on the record and say thank you for being here today. And your work is appreciated in the community. I want to congratulate my colleague and new chair, Hector Bustos, on becoming the chair of this subcommittee. It speaks volumes to the transparency and the equity that we're looking to build as an agency. You know, our vice chair, as a vice chair representing the city of Santa Ana, and you know, working here with our chair who represents Santa Ana Unified, I think it speaks volumes of the directions we're going here. I would like to thank the subcommittee members on the school board for informing us today about the school district's priorities, as well as educating us on community schools. As a parent, you know, with a daughter that's going into high school, you know, Santa Ana Unified is a big part of our life. And I feel very confident about her educational journey. And as a subcommittee member, I do want to add an item to the following meeting for us to have a discussion on the usage of Wilson Elementary for the community members in the Washington Square community. It is a park poor community in an environmentally challenged part of our city. There is no park space anywhere near them. The closest park would be El Salvador Park, as well as the limited space that we have in Willard, which is predominantly used by residents of Willard. So it is a park poor community. I would like to discuss us utilizing that space for residents there. In addition to that, the conversation, I'd also like to include an additional item related to Fremont Elementary to allow students from Fremont Elementary to utilize our park space during school hours, and as well as our community members to utilize for city staff and staff from the school district to utilize our parking space in the community center. Since I know parking is a tough issue there for staff at Fremont, I think that there's a way for our city to be helpful in utilizing some of our amenities. And that concludes my comments today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So first, I just want to thank Dr. Perez for being here and presenting on behalf of the district. I think most of the things that we talked about are going to be very informational, if not new, perhaps information to some people that might be watching at home. I also want to thank our staff for being here. It's almost 8 p.m. and I recognize that you've been here all day. And we haven't met in a while, and I want to thank you for your patience as well, and for recognizing the importance of this body and the work that we're trying to move forward. As I always say, education first is a slogan or a logo here that a lot of people really love dearly, and it's for a reason, right? And so thank you for coming here and sharing information. And you're always, I think, with every member of this body, you're always going to find that we're going to champion transparency, and the more information that we can provide to our community, the better, I hope, and more informed that they will be. And so with that, I just want to conclude tonight's meeting, and I want to congratulate Vice Chair Hernandez and newly elected Chair Bustos. And have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow back in the chamber.
Thank you.